everybody, it's Teresa with ReeseDixon.com with another ornament for our cozy Christmas tree. Since I am a knitter, as soon as I think cozy Christmas, I just go immediately to all of my knitting projects. And one thing I really love is my works in progress basket where you just have all these beautiful yarns all balled up, and I just think it looks so beautiful. So I wanted to make yarn balls to put on the tree. The only problem with that is that it requires a lot of yarn, which can get expensive, and they are wicked heavy. So you'd put one yarn ball on your tree and it would just go bonk. So I had to come up with a way to do it on the cheap, to save my yarn and make it lightweight. And I think I've come up with a pretty brilliant solution. So first I went to my thrift store because that is a great place to get lots of little bits of yarn. And I found this bag of yarn balls here. And you can see, you know, if you're knitting, the yarn ball doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be organized. So these do the trick just fine. But if I'm working on an ornament, that you want pretty. So I'm going to take these little, you know, purposeful yarn balls and make them into something beautiful. I like this color. I'm going to work with this one right now. Okay, so here's where my brilliant idea comes in. I went and got myself ping pong balls. Yes, I wanted the balls to be relatively small because I'm doing this on a pretty small tree, and so I wanted the ornaments to be proportional. So the ping pong balls worked out great for me. If you want bigger balls, keep thinking lightweight, even a balloon if you dare. If you blow it up small enough, they're actually pretty hardy, you know, they don't pop as easily. But these work perfect for my purposes, and I was so excited to find them. So when I was making the yarn balls, you know, when I'm knitting, I don't really worry too much about what they look like. I'm kind of a, you know, fly by the seat of my pants kind of crafter, and so I don't worry too much about making my yarn balls gorgeous. But for this, I really wanted to find a good way to do it, and I could not find anything online. I thought, I know so many compulsive crafters, there has to be a tutorial for how to make a neat yarn ball, and I couldn't find a thing. So I had to experiment a little bit. So obviously what I'm doing now is just putting some glue on my ping pong ball. You can use any glue you like, and I'm gonna glue down this end. And once that's glued down, you'll start to wrap. I put glue all over the ball so that it doesn't unravel if it gets snagged on a tree branch, or if my cat gets to it. They can't do too much damage if the whole thing is glued down. So with my tail glued, I'm going to start wrapping. And here's the secret I found to making it neat and beautiful. For one thing, if you can see my finished project here, it looks neatest when you wrap it in like clumps. So I have, instead of your yarn just going every which way, crazy, although you could, that's totally a good look. I wrapped each direction 4 times and then switched. So I've got, like, you know, thicker groupings. I just thought that looked neat, as in tidy. So with my end glued down, I'm gonna wrap this 4 times. The starting part is the trickiest because I've got my finger in the way. Okay, and then every time I finish 4, I'm gonna turn a quarter around this way, and then a quarter around, so this is confusing. Okay, so if I'm holding it here, I'm going to go a quarter this way and a quarter this way, okay? So imagine like a plus size sign on your ball. So a quarter inch this way, and then a quarter inch that way, right? I mean, not quarter inch, like a quarter of the ball. You know what I mean? If you're dividing it into quarters like a pie. Okay, so you'll see what I'm talking about when I do a few more. So I'm wrapping 4 times. And now that my finger's not in the way, I'm gonna put some more glue over here. Here we go. Okay, so there's 4. So then I turn it to the next quarter of the ball that way and that way. And I start wrapping like this. So by now you might be wondering, why bother with all the turning? Why can't you just keep wrapping? Well, if you keep wrapping in the same direction, even if it's along one axis, okay, so say I'm wrapping this way and I keep turning the ball this way without doing the second turn, what happens is that you'll have a big bulky point on one section where the yarn crosses over itself over and over and over again. And so instead of a nice round ball, you'll end up with a football shape. And that doesn't really scream, you know, cozy yarn ball to me. So I'm gonna keep turning. So let's see, that's 4. So now I turn this way and then this way and keep on going. And I'm just gonna keep doing that until I get this entire ball covered. 4 wraps at a time, and then 1 turn, like if you think back to geometry class, 1 turn on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis, or reverse that. It's been a long time since geometry class for me. And once you get your ball mostly covered, you don't have to be so rigid about which way you turn and how you turn. You can just start to go where you're missing, where there's bald spots. I'm getting close to finish, but before I wrapped this whole thing up entirely, I wanted to show you really close up how I'm turning this, okay? So right now, you can see I've only got a couple bald spots left, so I just aim for the bald spots. But to explain how I was turning it, I'd go 1/4 of the ball that way, and then 1/4 of the ball that way, and wrap like that. Okay, but so now I'm just gonna cover up these last few bald spots, and then since I'm making this into an ornament, use the rest to tie off and make a hanger. So I'm happy with how I've got this wrap now. There's a couple little spots I could obsess over if I felt like it, but I'm going to let it go and call it done. So I cut the yarn off and gave myself a few inches, and I tucked it underneath one of these groupings I did. And I'm gonna do that one more time, push it through, and then just tie it off like that, tie a knot right there, and that'll be my hanger. So let me push that through one more time. Like so. And then I'm going to use that little bit of tail to make a knot with the loop. Like so. So now I'm going to cut off that tail, and I'll just have the loop, and there's my little yarn ball ornament. I think these are so pretty that at the end of the year, I might just make a whole bowl of these and just like set them on a countertop. I think they're so beautiful. You can see all the great fibers and colors of the beautiful yarns you buy. And this is, if you use the ping pong balls, all you need is like the scrap bits that you can't bear to get rid of after you're done knitting your sweater. And you don't need to sacrifice all the yardage it would take to actually make one of these. I'm gonna make one of these in just about every color of yarn I have. And this will be great to kind of fill in all those little nooks and crannies and just make your tree look full and lush and beautiful. So thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we are just getting started. I have so many more ideas. I could not turn the ideas off for this tree. So subscribe so you don't miss anything, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.